What is up, y'all? Bacon here, and today is definitely a bourbon kind of day here in Germany. Fortunately, winter is the best time of year to be stuck inside, and like most people, I'm just trying to make the best of it. So why not make a video on how just about anybody can make six figures while working and living overseas? That's if you're willing to sacrifice a little. Now, this isn't a get-rich-quick video or even some kind of get-rich-at-all video. It's really just a video about one of the many possible ways you can get into a career where you can make really good money while being paid to live outside the US. If there's one thing I've learned over the last decade, it's that Americans need to try and learn more about and experience other cultures from outside the US. We're raised with this bliss ignorance of the rest of the world. This video is just based off of things I've gone through, learned about, and did to change my life up a little bit. Not that there was anything wrong with my life 10 years ago. I owned my own house, I had a good job, I had pets. It was a typical American life for the most part. I had no complaints. So if you're sitting there in the US, bored, struggling, maybe you'd like a little adventure in your life, or just interested in a change, watch on. If you enjoyed the video, you'd like to hear more about contracting and travels, or you'd just like a chance at the cash giveaway, smash the like button, subscribe, and certainly comment if you have any suggestions or questions. Cheers. Over the last decade, since venturing off, mostly overseas, I've had various conversations with people, whether it's friends, friends of friends, family, or a lot of times it's really just drunken conversations with random people at bars. I frequently get asked, what got me started in overseas contracting? Where do I find the jobs? And I hear the occasional, I'd love to travel all the time and make really good money also. How do I get into it? The answer to it is shockingly simple, but the problem always lies in the execution or lack of execution. Like most things worth doing, there's plenty of sacrifices you have to accept. That includes getting into overseas contracting, and a lot of people aren't really willing to sacrifice much, so what are you gonna do? First things first though, when people hear military contractor, they think Blackwater, CIA mercenaries, and all those wild movie characters that get shot out and kill everybody in a country. In all reality, it's just a blanket term when working with the military. When we're on a base filling out paperwork, we're asked, are you military, active duty, or reserve, whatever, government civilian, GS employees, or a contractor. Contractors can be absolutely anybody on a base, from janitor to the people working in the gym to, yes, the Blackwater mercenaries, or by this time, whatever the company name may be. So what got me into contracting? Well, to make a long story short, I was just another IT system administrator for a large company in Florida for about 4 years. I started out at the help desk call center, where it was mostly just password resets and creating tickets. I eventually moved up to the tier 2 help desk, where I actually got to work on computers, and eventually worked my way into becoming a full system administrator. At that time, I was just a typical middle-class worker living paycheck to paycheck most months, but it wasn't a bad life by any means. I took my 2 vacations a year to Vegas and Mexico, had a car, had a house, you know, whatever. While working on the tier 2 help desk, which was around 2008-ish, I learned about and spoke with a previous engineer who'd gone to Iraq and Afghanistan and was making, give or take, $300K a year, and at that time he was still there. Yes, in 2008 we were in the middle of a war in both of those countries, but that's why he was getting paid $300,000 a year plus. $300,000 sounds like a lot of money. And it is, but just remember that that year the US defense budget was give or take $760 billion, and for 2021 it's roughly $716 billion. Not exactly a major cut for the fact we're supposedly leaving these war zones. When most people hear defense budget, they think military. Money must be going to the military. But billions of dollars go to just random contracting companies and the contractors filling those seats. For For those who don't know, and based off of my experience, that's most Americans, U.S. bases, especially the ones in war zones, are absolutely loaded with contractors. The contractors are just everyday people with everyday jobs in a war zone providing services to the military, and those jobs tend to pay really well, thanks to such a large defense budget. Once I learned about this contractor pay, I was sold. I just needed to figure out, how do I make it happen? Like most contractors in the beginning, I thought, cool, I'll go over there for a year, make say $200K, pay off all my bills, relieving that financial stress that we all maintain living a paycheck to paycheck life. Then I'll come back home, get another job, and boom, back to my normal life. Needless to say, like most contractors, especially for those of us without a wife or kids, the experience of new money and travel changed the plan quickly. Oh yeah, and on top of the $200 to $300K you make as a contractor overseas, the first roughly $100K isn't taxed. Oh, and if you're living on a base in a war zone, you also don't pay for your food or lodging. So it's really a time to focus on paying off the bills and saving up some cash for when you presumably end your contracting career overseas. Next, how do you get into contracting, or should I say, how did I get into contracting? This is another very easy answer. Contracting is just a job. It's private companies that win contracts with the military or government through GSA, and they hire just standard W-2 employees just like any company, except they do it inside and outside the country. The only difference is a lot of these jobs you need a clearance, which clearance depends on your job, the location you're going to, maybe the base, and what materials you'll need to have access to. For me to get overseas, there were really two primary tasks that I needed to figure out, and it really only took me maybe a year from the time I had heard about contracting to the time I actually full-on left the country. Because I was looking for a similar job in IT, I had to get the appropriate certification required for the positions I was looking at. That wasn't that difficult. I mean, in my eyes, it's just you need to study, learn, pass the test. You're going to pass the test, or you're not going to pass the test. You know the material, or you don't. Task number 2 was the difficult one to figure out, finding a company that was willing to hire me due to the fact I didn't have a clearance, I'd never had a clearance, and they don't come cheap. Although I didn't know it at the time, there's a few contracting companies out there that may not pay as well in comparison to the others, but if you're willing to go somewhere for a year, let's say that's not desirable, like a war zone, they'll pay you to get your clearance. These are those sacrifices most people aren't really willing to make, even if it improves their lives in the long run. It's tough leaving everything you know, family, friends, pets, all those conveniences, everything, for a year to go to a place that the living situation may not be the greatest. I mean, when you're on a base in a war zone, you're technically risking your life with all the indirect mortar fire being lobbed into the base, and all those comforts of home are gone. It's a hard decision to make, but to me, that year was going to be 100% worth it, and I still believe it was. If you're wondering what kind of jobs are out there and where can you find them, easy. All these companies that win these billion-dollar contracts with the government are readily available with job postings online. And many of them are publicly traded companies like Booz Allen, Lockheed Martin, CACI, SAIC. There's hundreds, if not thousands of others. Along with these large companies, there's even more small businesses that the large companies are forced to break off a certain percentage of each contract with as a subcontract company. Finding a contracting gig within the US or even outside the US can really just be as easy as a simple Indeed search. I by no means am sponsored by Indeed, they're just the first ones that came to mind. What kind of jobs they're hiring for? Well, pretty much any job in all industries. If you're in IT also, you can find help desk, system engineers, developers, project managers, IA. They're also usually looking for people experienced in stuff like finance and accounting, even basic admin work, construction, some cases truck drivers and bus drivers. It's a wide array of available jobs, so it just comes down to searching for what you'd like to do. Hell, maybe you're just looking to do a year somewhere so you can catch up on your bills and get ahead. It doesn't have to be a career move, it can just be a financial decision for you to take advantage of for a year. If you like this video, have any questions about contracting, travel, or just suggestions, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment. Every week I do a cash giveaway by picking somebody random in either the comments or really whoever just DMs me on Instagram, so reach out and say what's up. Cheers.